it's been a long time since I've done my last vlog, and part of that is because I've been so incredibly busy and not been able to even set aside enough time to kind of bring you all along this exciting journey that I've been experiencing the last couple of months. But the other thing is too, my SD card carked and croaked it a little bit and was being really pernickety with me, and even when I filmed a few things it just kind of was hit and miss. So it's very hard when we're doing things like this, and then suddenly you lose part of your vlog halfway through, and you just want to make sure that everything's a good experience for everyone. Sorry, my husband just walked in the front door and I'm wondering, what's that shadow? And also too, my studio got so messy while I was just busily painting away and teaching and doing uni and everything. I just didn't physically have enough time to give it a really thorough clean out. And you know, you go through those periods where you literally think to yourself, look, I'm just going to have everything out so I know where it is, and of course you lose stuff, and it's a stupid way of thinking and being, but you know, we get that. So I've cleaned everything up, and a lot of stuff off my table and off, you know, surfaces around the house and trolleys is sitting in baskets on the floor in my studio at the moment, but all my surfaces are nice and tidy and clean. There's a lot of things that have been put away in cupboards, and it's really making me feel much more creative. For those of you that follow me on social media, I've been back into painting in my journals again, which is really great. Now that I've finished university for the year, I'm doing really well and thinking to myself, yay, that hurdle's done for this year. Although I'm back into it from February 2017, and I'm full-time in a fine arts degree from that point onwards. And I tell you now, like, that is a very exciting and scaring prospect. I've met a lot of people that are doing the same degree at the moment or have just finished it, and they work a lot more at Griffith, Queensland College of Art, with conceptual art. So if you're working with conceptual art, and I've been having a really good look at that, there's less focus on technique than there is on having the right concepts and then adequately telling and conveying those concepts within your art, which I find is a little bit disappointing. But I also feel in myself that my technique and all the work that I've put into it and all the classes that I've done until now are actually going to stand me in really good stead as I go and explore this further. And I do know, after having my first exhibition recently, which was a great success, that I already work conceptually. I work conceptually and then bring about a resolution to my art in my fine art. And there is a story behind every single work that I do, and those stories, I'm sitting down as I'm now preparing for my second exhibition shortly. I am sitting down and exploring and writing the artist statements to all of those works, because I literally ran out of time with the first one, because I went from having 22 meters of hanging wall space in which to hang all my works of art to having 45 meters and only an additional 6 to 7 weeks to prepare for the extra 22 meters that I had. So that was a really tough ask, and I met the challenge. But it's funny, I attended quite a few artist talks in that period of time, from current professional practicing artists to gallery owners and curators of, you know, regional art galleries and things like that, and found to myself that it's not always easy or advisable to embark on a solo exhibition of that nature and that size as your first outing to showing your work in public. So I always have to do things the hard way, and not knowing this myself, you know, it puts extra pressure on you for sure. So I went along that path of working really hard to produce a cohesive and rather eclectic collection of works that's been 3 years in the making. There were some old paintings in there that I'd done 3 years ago when I first started painting, and then the majority of works were actually from this year, and some works in between. I haven't got a huge chronological series of works that I could exhibit, because a lot of the work that I did in the early days when I first started painting, I really did my fine art on a commission basis, which is fortunate because a lot of artists don't get a lot of work for commissions. But I was fortunate enough that there were some selected people that loved what I was doing and would commission me to do work for them, and that's where I corralled a lot of my fine art pieces, so they kind of went out the door and I didn't have them sitting in my house. And to be honest with you, if you're going to have like 45, 50 works lying around your house, you kind of run out of wall space, and you think to yourself, okay, well, how am I going to do this in a way that, you know, how am I going to do this and store all these works? And I've talked to a few other artists around, and they're like, well, we have, you know, lots of racks in our houses that we put all our canvases on and our paperwork and folios. And I thought to myself, I'm really glad that I work in journals, that I do a lot of my conceptual work in journals, and they are so easy to store. Like, that for me is a huge thing that makes my life that much easier. And then I translate my thoughts on how I will work in all my future collections that I want to paint. And I have 3 future collections that I want to work on, and some of them are really quite ambitious and bold, and others I'm kind of conceptualizing at the moment, and I'm interested in how that will work. But I just kind of think to myself, yes, this is exactly where I want to be right now. It's exactly where I want to be. I still have lots of teaching gigs around the place, and I find, you know, that I love uni, that am doing really well at uni, and that I just have this natural ability to be able to write an essay and to take in information and then form my arguments without plagiarizing, which is a really big deal at uni. There's a huge thing with plagiarism, with people that find it difficult to corral all their thoughts and arguments together into original arguments, because quite frankly, in the academic sphere, you're not allowed to have an opinion until you finished your doctorate, your PhD, and then you're allowed to have an opinion, because that final doctorate is all about having an opinion on a certain area of research and then presenting your thesis. And after that, you're considered to have enough knowledge and learning behind you to actually have an opinion. But even at the undergraduate and then at the master's level, you don't get to have an opinion. You only get to argue other people's opinions for a thought, that of presentation of arguments for a particular topic that you may be asked to think about. So I find that that's really different when you're approaching art, and that was quite an interesting unit to do in that whole beginner space of that. I really enjoyed it, and so glad I'm finished though, because it does put a lot of pressure on you. And you know, all of my schedules next year are in a state of flux at the moment until I get that uni schedule and calendar, and I know what courses and classes and what days of the week they're on. And that's why a lot of my workshops go at night, because I know that it's unlikely that I will have lectures and classes at night. And you know, I'm really able to look after the working, you know, people that work, and then I can do some workshops in the day. I'm very much looking forward to having my teaching space sorted, and I'm thinking about how I'm going to rip up the carpet in that studio, because, you know, paint and carpet just don't mix, and the carpet's been trashed by a whole bunch of teenagers living there for, you know, since 2007, and it's just like bleh. So I'm going to rip it up, and what will I do to prep it? I'm going to repaint the walls, but there's one wall that I really want to do a big mural on, so that's a large scale kind of painting project, which I'm kind of like really excited about. And I am thinking very much along the lines of, you know, how am I going to do this, and planning what is it that I want to paint, and going down that path of, do I do maybe some urban street art kind of things in the mural, or will I hand paint it with big brushes and things like that. Having done some large scale works and 3x3 meter banners, this space that I'm looking at doing is like kind of 3x3 meters and then over the top of some windows, and incorporating underneath the windows into the mural as well, so floor to ceiling for one length of the studio. And then I'm looking at creating on the other side of the studio, the long wall, a massive easel type thing against the wall. So I'm looking at getting some kind of routed, anyone who's got any ideas on this would be ideal as well, but I'm looking at having like a picture rail type routed thing where I can have a lip where I can put really large scale canvases on and work on those at varying heights, or put something on the wall so that I can either sit on a chair at the bottom of it and stand for the top and start working more large scale. Because at the moment with any really large scale works that I do, like for instance, I can't put a triptych on my easel because the easel platform is just not wide enough even for a reasonably small triptych like my Urban Decay triptych. Now, if I'm going to work in much larger triptychs or a series where I feel like they should be really intimately connected, I'd like to be able to have those 3 or 2 or 4 canvases all up on the wall at the one time so that I can work on them all together. And then, you know, while paint's drying on one, I can work on the other and have a space of freeform creation. And then be able to leave them there on display as they're being worked on, and then maybe even get feedback on that when I'm teaching classes for students in the same space. So it's kind of a workspace. It's got great light, and I can't wait to kind of dude it all up and show you, give you a tour of that new space, but that's not coming till January 2017. I find at the moment that I'm looking forward to exploring maybe some encaustic art. I asked my husband to get me an encaustic workshop for my birthday coming up in a few days, and he just went, great, although I can't go to the next one because I'm really busy on the 2 days that that's on, unfortunately for me. Oh look, little puss who's covered in Farmer's Friends has come to visit. Darling, you are covered in so many Farmer's Friends all over you that, yuck. And now I'm covered in them. Thanks a lot for that, sweetie. Ugh. So I find that I can't wait to go and do that. It's with Gail Rickard. She's a Gold Coast based artist, and she's exhibited at the Gold Coast Regional Gallery, and her works go all over Australia at the moment. She's an award-winning artist, and particularly with her encaustic series, and she does charcoal work, acrylic and oils, so she truly is kind of a mixed media artist or proficient in quite a number of mediums, and I really love that about her. So I'm really looking forward to adding encaustics to my plethora of skill sets that I have, and I really like the idea of her products. I'll be interested to ask her, you know, how do these encaustic products work in a very humid and gorgeous sort of hot environment that we have in Queensland. And I've got friends up in North Queensland who are kind of looking at that, you know, at that kind of problem with the humidity that, you know, if their candles melt and bend over on particularly hot periods and days, then that means obviously that we have to have a look at encaustics and how those works of art will actually, what kind of life they have in a hot and humid environment. I'll just put that puss down. She can go and spread her Farmer's Friends everywhere else. Yeah, so that's kind of really exciting, and I will be looking at doing more of that kind of work. I'm right at that point now where I'm really kind of enjoying these different types of art. And with my art, it's like I have the ability to work in most different mediums or multiple mediums to create the concept that I'm wanting to convey in my fine art. So, and that really came out in my exhibition, and there's a podcast coming out. I was interviewed for Art Fringe Culture for the community engagement piece that I did, which was Eyes in a Blanket, and also too about the art exhibition and some of the photos that Art Fringe Culture took of my art exhibition, some particular pieces where there's been some awesome feedback on the photos that they put up with the followers in the community that follow it. And they promote local Logan artists in the creative writing space, the music space, and also the visual arts. And I love that. They're a great team of people that write a blog and do creative writing for some magazines, and they're looking at expanding even more to promote the arts in Logan and to look at arts hubs in Logan, which I would love to be a part of. I have also joined the Logan Artists Association and had my first work in the Able Gallery as part of the Changes exhibition, which reminds me I have to go pick that up if it hasn't been sold. Hope it's been sold, that would be good. And I've also booked in a couple of exhibitions for next year, so a solo exhibition for a week for myself for my environmental elements exhibition, where I'll have new works in there and some older works in there, and I'll have the gallery to myself, and also too for the Canefields art exhibition, which I will be curating and training people about the arts and how to formulate a collection. And of course all my uni experience is going to come well into that, but one thing that I understand is that my process towards creating a collection is already well formed and developed, and that's something that some artists struggle with. They don't struggle with doing the work, they struggle with the concept or creating the whole collection. And often we look at working on our skills, and we do anything and anything to work on our skills, but that's not always what it takes to create a collection. You need to then harness that skill and then work on a particular theme and then have sub-themes within that theme, which I found, you know, sometimes to be quite challenging and other times absolutely liberating and exciting. And to be honest with you, now as I wind down for the rest of the year, I am looking forward to just having some of my artwork being shopped around at various galleries. I've got a meeting on the 15th of October for a 2-week exhibition at Missladypetal at West End in Queensland, in Brisbane, which is like the arts hub of Queensland, and they represent unrepresented art. They exhibit unrepresented and breakout artists, and I'm considered one of those breakout artists at the moment because I've just started exhibiting and I have this new collection of work that not many people have seen. So that's an exciting prospect to just have my work then displayed in a proper gallery space and with professional hangings and professional walls and hanging systems, and that's really cool. I loved the Miami Marquetta space. It really suited the work that I did, and it was really easy to hang because you just could put nails in anywhere and then hang your work off the nails, which was awesome, and you had to take them all out at the end of the night. But that was just a pop-up exhibition, and you know, sometimes an exhibition needs to run for a couple of weeks for a wide cross-section of people to be able to view the work and then be able to savour the work and maybe decide that they want to own the work. And it's very hard for pop-up exhibitions for there to be, particularly if you've got kind of deep work, for there to be almost that really instant, I must have this. And you have a different demographic in those spaces as well. So I'm now looking to reach a slightly different, slightly more sophisticated, so maybe more sophisticated in their art leanings clientele, or people that understand art or appreciate art. And one of the things that I like and believe should happen within the art space in Logan is to actually create an arts hub where we can have more community engagement, and art then becomes like in the cities of Pompeii. I've just been looking at Pompeii and Herculaneum, which was just down the road from Pompeii in ancient Greece, that art was in all aspects and classes of society. That mosaics covered walls, that murals painted walls, and there was beautiful sculptures everywhere, and the way that they designed their spaces was just the arts culture was intrinsically woven into that, into their everyday lives, even into their drinking bowls. And I think we've lost that. We've largely lost that. And I would like to be a part of being able to disseminate the arts more freely to our community now. And I love being a part of those grassroots culture and movements to try and get out into the community, which is why I offered one of my works up for community engagement, because it was basically taking my painting around to different events that were occurring in Logan that weren't necessarily linked to the arts, and then engaging people that walk past and just taking art to the community, which is a great space to have. So I think I've kind of talked out. Sometimes these vlogs take interesting kind of tangents, I think, but that's kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm really enjoying just having a quieter day today. I was supposed to go and see a local coffee shop to look at having some of my art hanging on the walls there, but I have a meeting for a larger exhibition, and I just need to know the time frames. It depends on how soon they schedule the next exhibition up at West End as to how I can release art to possibly sell and work on before then, and what that means for, you know, my plans to show it in a more varied space. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking about at the moment. It's been great to connect with you all again, and I also, now that it's quiet today, I'm also looking at doing some more filming for some work that I'm doing at the moment in some of my journals. So watch for that new video coming soon to my YouTube channel, and ciao for now.